Alright guys, Internet Mexican here. And what a crazy start of the year, right? We're only in January, and we've already had a major incident with a foreign country, which has brought us closer to war, and has created a lot of tension in the Middle East. We haven't even finished the last two fucking wars we started in that region, so crazy start of the year. So let's go through a quick recap about what's been going on. And then at the end of the recap, I'll just sort of give you my opinion, because that's mostly what the Internet Mexican show is. It's an opinion show based on the news. A lot of people believe that the recent tension between Iran and the United States stems from events that have been taking place in the past couple weeks or couple months. We've been building up to where we're at right now for at least 2 years. So let's go ahead and list some of the major events that have happened since 2018. May 8th, 2018. Trump administration removed the United States from the nuclear deal that was signed by President Barack Obama. This deal provided sanction relief in exchange for Iran restricting their own nuclear program. So after removing us from the deal, the administration then went on to step up sanctions, hurting Iran's already hurting economy. November 5th, 2018. The Trump administration imposed strict sanctions on Iran's oil industry, which struck a huge blow to Iran's already hurting economy, since oil is a pretty major part of it. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo then issued 12 demands that Iran needed to meet in order to receive sanctions relief. Iran said, "Fuck that, son." Some of those demands included Iran getting uninvolved in the Syrian civil war, halting its ballistic missiles program, and ending support for armed militia movements in the region. Cinco de Mayo 2019. U.S. under Trump deploys the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group and Bomber Task Force after it claimed there was a number of troubling and escalatory indications and warnings. But much like the situation with Suleimani, though, no evidence was given. We threatened unrelenting force if our assets were attacked in the region, though. Remember, no evidence was provided for the supposed imminent attack that Suleimani was assassinated for, and no evidence was provided for these allegations on May 5th that there were a number of troubling and escalatory indications, that we were responding to. So between May 12th and June 13th, 2018, the United Arab Emirates says 4 commercial ships off of its coast were sabotaged. We, the U.S., blame Iran. Then 2 oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz are hit in an assault. The U.S. Navy rushed in to help, and the Americans blamed Iran. Tehran then denied any involvement. June 20th, 2019. Iran shoots down a U.S. surveillance drone. The U.S. then planned to retaliate. However, retaliation was called off over concerns of casualties. This doesn't seem to be a consideration that was taken, though, when we were killing Suleimani. Although, if you believe any of the reports that came, supposedly Trump was hesitant to kill Suleimani after the December 27th attack that killed an American national and injured several American servicemen, and supposedly this hesitation was over concerns that it might increase tensions in the region. However, let's keep going, and we'll get to that. September 14th, 2019. Drone attack on Saudi oil facilities temporarily cuts off supplies of the world's largest producer. This results in a spike in gas prices. We blame Iran for the attack, of course. We call it an act of war on Saudi Arabia. Iran denies that they were involved. However, Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen claim they were behind the attack. November 2019. There are several protests around Iran. The people are unhappy with an increase in gas prices. The government shuts down the internet and cracks down hard, by which I mean they killed 300 plus people when they were cracking down on these protests. Now, December 27th, 2019. A U.S. contractor is killed and several American servicemen are injured in a rocket attack on a base in northern Iraq. The attack is blamed on Kataib Hezbollah, also known as the Hezbollah Brigades in Iraq. This is a sanctioned militia group, meaning that they are allowed to operate by Iraq. However, they are backed by Iran. December 29th, 2019. In retaliation for the attack on December 27th, the United States launches strikes against the Hezbollah Brigades in Iraq against 2 positions, one in Iraq, one in Syria. These strikes kill at least 25 militiamen. Kataib Hezbollah threatens to take revenge on the United States. Iraq calls these strikes a violation of their sovereignty. It should be noted that several media outlets reported that this attack was one of several options that were presented to President Donald Trump in response to the December 27th attack. Included in these options that were presented to the president was a plan to kill General Suleimani of Iran It has been reported that this option was presented under the belief that Suleimani was directly responsible for several attacks that had occurred on American positions in Iraq by local Iranian-backed militias. It was stated that Suleimani was also actively involved in the planning, funding, and direction of future plans to strike American personnel in the region. This was the justification that was eventually used in the assassination. However, no evidence for Suleimani's imminent attack was presented. Sources on the inside stated to reporters, though, that the evidence suggesting that Suleimani was involved in any imminent attack was razor thin. By the way, the sources that I use will be put below in the description. It should also be noted when you're reading these sources that the Suleimani assassination was an option presented to Trump. However, it was considered sort of like a far-off last resort option, considering that evidence for it appears to be lacking and still has not been given up by the Pentagon. December 31st, 2019, Iran-backed militiamen and their supporters riot at the American embassy in Baghdad for 2 days. They smash windows, set fires, throw rocks and other debris. U.S. Marines then deploy tear gas to control the crowd as it continues to grow. Local law enforcement claimed to have been caught off guard by the rioters, and thus they took several hours to respond. Eventually, though, local law and counter-terrorist forces do respond, and the situation eventually is brought back under control, more or less. January 3rd, the United States assassinates Qasem Soleimani. He was targeted as he was the mastermind of local Iranian intervention in the region. Justification for his killing, as we have stated, is that he posed an imminent threat to American personnel and assets in the region. This threat came in the form of his support to local Iran-backed militias that were allegedly the ones responsible for attacking American positions. The attack also left a Kataib Hezbollah commander dead. Liberals in Congress feared that this action could result in a war in the region and felt that they should have been consulted before the attack took place. NATO allies admitted that the U.S. had informed them of the actions they were going to take against Soleimani, but ultimately stated that the assassination was 100% an American decision which they had nothing to do with. Also, there were several other NATO representatives or NATO personnel in the region which after this had to be relocated just for concerns of their safety. This included, I believe, 500 trainers that from NATO member countries that I believe were moved to Kuwait just for safety. January 5th, Iran states they are no longer going to abide by the nuclear deal. At the same time, Iraq passes a non-binding resolution stating they want foreign troops removed from the country. This clearly is aimed at the 5,000 plus American troops in the country, but NATO is unclear on whether this also applies to its 500 trainers and support staff that are currently in the region to train Iraqi military and other personnel. Trump promises his administration will impose sanctions on Iraq if American troops are forced to leave the country. Also, the Pentagon continues to state that they believe that American forces in the region are a force of good and that the Iraqi people and the Iraqi state benefits from American presence in the region. January 8th, 2020. Iran retaliates against the United States. Iran launched several rocket attacks at 2 bases in Iraq, which were housing American troops. The U.S. does not immediately release a casualty list and actually states that there are no casualties. However, it is later determined that at least 11 servicemen were injured. The injuries seem to be related to concussions. They were later moved to outside facilities to be checked out, but no servicemen were killed in the attack. The United States did not immediately retaliate for these attacks, and matter of fact, as of what I know right now, there does not appear to have been any military action against Iran afterwards. However, due to the rising tensions in the region, Iranian air defense systems shot down a passenger plane in their airspace, killing all 176 passengers on board. Iran initially denied that they were responsible, claiming that the plane had crashed due to mechanical errors and attempted to cover up their involvement. However, they eventually admitted that they had shot the plane down. The commander responsible for the air defense system that shot it down claims that he wants to die. He feels so bad. Well, kill yourself. You literally killed 176 innocent people. Claiming that it was an error. I mean, isn't that the whole reason that GPS was made public by the United States Air Force after the Soviet Union shot down a fucking civilian plane? You should have verified that target before you let those missiles fly. This whole, oh, I feel so bad, it doesn't fly here. You fucked up. A video recorded by an Iranian individual showed what appeared to be a missile hitting the plane. And now, if you go online, that person appears to have been arrested by Iran under supposedly national security reasons. I can already see it. Hey, you kind of fucking outed us killing 176 innocent people, so you're going to jail. After that plane was shot down, there was a lot of uproar in Iran by its own people who have essentially been protesting against the theocratic dictatorship in the country. This is not the spark for that, or for these protests. They have been protesting in that country for a while against the incredibly restrictive authoritarian government, but this definitely pissed off a lot of people and got a lot of people out on the streets, which, when you think about it, super fucking brave, considering that this regime has already killed hundreds of people who have protested against that government. So that's kind of where we're at right now. What's my take on this? I'll let you know right now. Let me just get a sip of my soda real quick. All this talking's getting my throat dry. So as I mentioned before, the timing of the whole situation just points to a distraction by the Trump administration. If Suleimani was such a threat, and if we knew his whereabouts previously, all the way dating back to like 2003, when supposedly he was helping Iraqi militiamen, gain the material and knowledge to build IEDs that resulted in the death of American soldiers. If he was that big of a threat, and if he really posed a threat of an imminent attack in the future against American personnel, then why did we wait? Why did we wait so long to take him out? Why did we wait till January 3rd, 2020 to take him out? I mean, if he was such an impending threat, then why wasn't this assassination done before Kataib Hezbollah's attack on December 27th? It seems to me that his assassination was solely for the purpose of distracting from Trump's impeachment and the anticipation of the articles of impeachment being sent to the Senate for trial. It seems to me that this is a calculative move to get America's attention away from the political situation in the United States before the 2020 campaigns, before the election, to get that attention away from that toward these events in the Middle East. It seems to me also as a way for the right to try to drum up support for the Trump campaign from the more extreme parts of the right wing in this country. So since this assassination, there have been several attempts to further justify Suleimani's assassination. Other than saying, there was an imminent attack, there was justification that he was involved in the 9/11 attacks, which, if you read the 9/11 Commission report, or if you go online and you just do some research yourself, you'll see that no, that's a straight up lie being pushed by Trump and Pence. But yep, that's my take on the situation. That's where we're at now. If you don't think that these big government organizations use events like this to distract you from events such as the impeachment, then what you need to do is read this book right here, The Shock Doctrine, and see how major events are used to distract you in order for organizations or even corporations to push their agenda forward while you're not looking. This has been Internet Mexican. Let me know what you guys think about the whole situation. Leave it down in the comments. If you guys want to read the articles that I've read that brought me to this point, to my take on the whole situation, then go ahead and just go down in the description below. Again, like, dislike, comment, subscribe. I'm out.